And we are live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to Anything in Standby, the podcast where my audio spikes and nobody tells me about it. Today we are coming at you with the usual cast of buffoons. I got Austin, I got Sarkis, and I got Alan. Say hi, everybody.
What's good? What's good?
Yo, what's up?
All right, okay. I was like, I only got one person to say hi.
We got
I didn't know Austin was gonna go.
So we're coming at you guys with a little bit of a later episode in regards to the ban list. I know a lot of content creators put out episodes or anything related to the podcast like right away, but we wanted to let it stew for a little bit and really get a feel for what things were going to look like going forward, so that we can come at you with the best analysis in the game. So. Without further ado, I mean, everybody's here for the ban list. It's probably going to be clickbaited too. So, yeah. What were your guys' personal thoughts on the ban list as a whole? I'm going to start with Sarkis this time.
You know, going into last episode, I said that Konami is going to hit maybe two things, maybe one thing if we're lucky. What a slaughter. Oh, my lord. When they kept announcing it on stream, I just kept getting more and more shocked. I'm very happy this is very good for the game. I think maybe in contention for one of the best, at least easily top 3 ban lists of all time. So I'm very happy with it. I think they went about the right way of hitting a lot of things. Whether it's Murmills to Rizal to Malice. There's some questionable picks, don't get me wrong, but not outright banning a lot of things is great in my opinion. So I think they nerfed a lot of cards, but just enough to make it matter, but not too much to make it completely unplayable. So I like it.
Cool.
Really, chat. He didn't say it out loud, but inside he's seething with watery rage about the Bahamut shark ban.
No, that's true.
One could say the rage of the abyss.
Yeah, he is truly consumed by the rage of the abyss.
No, we can talk more about that later, but that was tragic. That was tragic. Why did you like that?
I gotta have a badum soundbite.
Austin, what are your thoughts overall on the ban list?
Yeah, definitely a great ban list. I think that the consistency hits across the board were really good in terms of the top decks. I think seeing some of the maybe sizable hits we saw in the November ban list, like the Poplar Ash stuff, kind of get edged back a little bit is really cool. Overall, great variety, and I think that hopefully in the future we see something maybe not as much of a consistency hit to a lot of decks, but hopefully we just see the expanse and broadening of certain cards kind of coming back into the meta. Very disappointed overall, though, just because my boy Electromite, man, chained away.
Fair. And lastly, Alan, what are your overall thoughts on the ban list?
I think for once, Konami actually addressed the majority of what our concerns were going into the meta. Like all of us honestly thought it was gonna be not a big ban list, but they hit almost all the heavy hitters, right? Like the consistency hits to Rizal and Malice are pretty significant. Even though I still think Malice is still overall like the winner of the list, even though they took a good amount of hits. But I still think that they did a great job. Also, I think the biggest surprise, though, I would say, is us still having certain cards, but I feel like we'll get into that later. But overall, I think they did a good job, and I think this format's going to be interesting for sure, especially also after post ALIN. So, yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. It is kind of interesting. I've seen a lot of sentiment online about people. You have two sides of the coin when it comes to the ban list. You have the Malice players that are like, God damn, my deck got fucking slaughtered and Rizal got off scot-free. And then you have the Rizal players that are like, man, my deck got slaughtered and Malice got off scot-free. So as the neutral third party, I gotta say, kind of a banger.
Kind of a banger.
Absolute cinema.
Exactly.
It's a certified hood classic.
So getting into the specifics of the ban list itself, I'm going to assume that anybody that's watching this video has at least seen the ban list. So we're not going to go card by card. Instead, we're going to go just by each deck and just kind of talk about how the hits affect it and what the deck looks like going forward. Now, there is going to be a big shakeup here in about 2-3 weeks when Skull Servant is tier 0. And there's a lot of talk about adding Nister or Reogenesis or whatever, but let's be honest, the zombie overlords are taking over, and that this video is going to be irrelevant at that point. But
Your
just
individual skeletons as viewers may rise up with the power of skull servants and betray your fleshy body. Keep that in mind.
So I kind of want to just leave this open ended. I'm not gonna talk. I'm not gonna point to specific people, but just starting off with Ryziel. Obviously, the notable hits are all the names to 2, and then a bonfire limit and a detonator limit, as well as an Abyss Dweller ban. And I think that the Abyss Dweller ban will be brought up a few different times throughout the episode, but I want to stress I think that's mostly going to be a Ryziel centric hit as far as this ban list is concerned. So, anybody have any thoughts about like what those hits are doing to the deck or anything like that going forward?
I think when you look at what Ryziel's capable of doing, the consistency hits make a lot of sense. I think we were all surprised just after seeing the recent iterations of the OCG list to see all of the names get hit to some degree. The detonator hit, I think, is a huge deal that not enough people are talking about, because you're taking one of the most powerful boss monsters that is in a way spammable and you're bringing it down to 1, so it makes removal cards a lot more impactful against the deck. The grind game has been reduced a lot for the deck, and it empowers cards like Eclipse Twin, so I think that that's really interesting. And I think primarily when you would see Ryziel mixed with other engines or other archetypes, now you're just seeing a really small. Now you'll see those main archetypes take the foreground, and Ryziel kind of be its own smaller, compact engine.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good analysis. I think with the limiting of bonfire specifically, and the semi-limiting of X and Ice, your starters have gone down significantly. So unless you're playing a pure variant that can make use of Seventh Tachyon, you're not really getting the consistency to actually see your Ryziel cards, or at least the Ryziel cards you really want to see. And so like the overall power level has kind of decreased with just those little bit of consistency hits. So things like Fiendsmith Ryziel or Mitsurugi Ryziel or things like that can't. I guess Mitsurugi Ryziel could probably still play Seventh Tachyon, but you're not seeing those cards as often. So the chances of seeing a detonator plus a whole other board are a little bit slimmer.
For sure. As the former Ryziel player, primarily in this group currently, Alan, like, what are your takes on it? As somebody who also played some cross archetype with it in Mitsurugi Ryziel, what do you expect or what do you feel going forward with the Ryziel engine?
I think the hits were really good to kind of mitigate how prevalent the deck was, and like its power was just too insane. I think, like we were saying, like you mentioned earlier, the hit on detonator really hits the power of the deck. So I feel like it's gonna be more of a supplementary engine and lets the other engine shine. In a sense, like, I mean, we're already kind of doing it in Mitsu, but it's like you're gonna use those bodies essentially to kind of bait out interactions. It's kind of reminds me a little bit of Fiendsmith, has how I view it, because now that you have less names and less of a push with the Ryzo cards themselves, you'll kind of use those. They're like, oh, if I let this duel resolve, I'm kind of messed here. So it'll let your Mitsu cards shine a little bit more and have more pushes with that. So I think that's cool. But that the deck isn't completely dead, but I like how it's not its own oppressive archetype, because it was Detonator is one of the best boss monsters I've ever seen, and I mean, it
second only
one, honestly,
to the actual greatest boss monster. Okay, third seat to the second greatest boss monster, King of the Skull Servants, and then that is second to only the actual greatest boss monster, Mementotlin Tekachikalikaba Combined Creation. You know, that's
Real,
what I'm saying.
real.
Okay.
I lost to that
Authentic-
today.
authentic
Lost to
pronunciation,
that
yep.
today.
Now, Poseidon, if
I
you could
think-
chime in here with somebody who has a near 100% win rate against Ryziel, what, in your own watery words, how do you feel?
I think Ryzel is ass, bro. Fuck that deck. That deck is such copium. Oh my lord. The only reason they won any game in existence is because of Dweller. Detonator pops some cards here and there. They get it back, pop some more cards. But every deck can play through that shit. Nobody gives a fuck, right? All your cards still activate. Everything keeps going
Poseidon,
through.
please. This is a family account. We're trying to.
Maybe,
We're
maybe.
trying
I
to.
don't think so,
Don't get us
buddy.
demonetized.
Has it been 10 minutes? If it's past 10 minutes, then yeah,
The
okay.
CEO, the higher ups at YouTube are Ryziel players. Please.
Nah, hey,
That is-
listen. That's
that
why
is
they
the
got
range of
banned.
the abyss right there.
Nah, it's true.
I
Hey,
guess
listen,
this is
I'm
more Abyss
happy.
Rising.
That's crazy.
With Abyss Dweller going down, Abyss Rising going up. But the thing is, like, Dweller shut down Fiendsmith stuff. It shut down a lot of rogue stuff. And Ryzel only has, in my opinion, hand traps and popping power, right? So when it comes to, like, the Mouse matchup, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but, I mean, you summon Dormouse, you activate its effect still goes off. If they pop it, that's cool, but you have other ways to play through. Now with Bestials, taking in the Fiendsmith engine, you have ways of going through 3 or 4 pops with a Ryzel board, right? And it just seems that they just don't have a lot of pushing power. And coming from a Mermail mindset, the only reason I had a struggle against Ryzel is because of Dweller. Outside of Dweller, most of the time it just doesn't matter. And even with Dweller, it sometimes doesn't matter. Like, I would have rather kept Dweller in the format so Mermails had something useful to do rather than just not have to worry about playing against it. But maybe that's a controversial take. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
and when you think about that, though, how do you facilitate it being akin to one archetype without being abused by other archetypes? You know, because
That's true. I mean, maybe
that's-
don't make it generic, you know?
Well,
Mermail
yeah,
rank
right.
4,
So
coming-
hopefully, theoretically, down the line, there's some sort of Dweller-esque non-quick effect or something that happens where
True.
it can be played, but just something not generic would be nice.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, though, nowadays, I think... Are we just talking about Ryzel right now, or can I talk about a little bit of Mermails?
Hey, we can move on to Mermail. Yeah.
Okay. Because I want to say...
I think we've kind of said our piece on Ryziel.
Because this is connected. Because with Jesse Cotton, even though he didn't play it, his teammates back in YCS Vegas, they played the Bahamut Shark and the Ryzel engine with, I think it was 7 Ascension or 7 Tachyon or both. That did kind of get Konami to ban Bahamut Shark, you know? But I think it was also a problem in the TCG. I will say I think Toad should have been the one hit. Bahamut is innocent. Bro was just trying to swim, and then bam, spear to the heart. And I don't think that's fair. I would have loved to still have Bahamut Shark going into the OG Rank 3 Abyss Trite from way back in the day, or just some reason to gain advantage while still being able to link summon and get a Dragoon's Effect detach. Nowadays, Mermails, I feel, just suffers a lot of resources, and just it's a lot more of a fragile deck. It's kind of turned into the synchro deck, and all the combo lines are just fucked. So I made it work though, low key yesterday. Kind of went crazy. But that being said though, it sucks. Fuck Toad. Fuck anyone that plays Toad. Toad is a piece of shit. OCG knows what they were doing when banning it 10 years ago. It should have been banned in the TCG. Bring back Shark, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Well, that abyss surely is raging.
Yeah.
I don't know how to follow that up. Splish splash, go take a
Splish
bath.
splash, time to dash. Yeah, no, for real.
I'll wade into the deep end a little bit here.
This is actually
But,
just water puns. The episode.
Yeah. I've been kind of taking a crack at Mermail myself as an avid Mermail enjoyer after the new support came out. Sarkis and I were talking a little bit before we started recording, and I think that there's a world where Mermail goes from being the best go first deck in the game with the best end board to doing some really degenerate stuff with hand looping and doing barrier statue shenanigans. But I actually think that going forward, I think a lot of people are going to pivot towards a more go second version. I think the Poseidra Atlantean is like an absolutely crazy custom card that is just made insanely broken going second. And the deck can break through boards relatively easily, and was doing it through Dwellers already. And now the shackles are off, and none of the going second tools were hit. Minus like they can't make a Toad going second, but They still have so much stuff that they can do, and like Sarkis was saying, it's probably a lot more synchro oriented now. But I think that there's still so much that the deck is capable of, and I really look forward to seeing what people cook up, because I think that there's a lot of potential with some really interesting ways the deck can go, even if it's not interesting for the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah, I think just to add on to that, it's unfortunate that this had to be like this, but I was quote unquote forced to play the barrier statue Mermail list because of the first turn bans that happened with Bahamut and Dweller. I've always been a barrier statue
Forced.
hater. Yeah,
Nobody
forced
forces
because
Poseidon to do anything. Did they threaten to dry up your pond or something? Like what happened?
nah, they just threatened an 0-4 drop. That's what they threatened. The issue with Mermails going first is we don't have like an Omni negate. Right,
Right.
Mermails has always been able to set up 2 to 3 pops with 1 bounce or 2 bounce backs to hand, right? Whether you're playing Virtue Stream or looping infantry twice or summoning Poseidon on their turn, you could always remove stuff on the board, but stopping a spell or trap, stopping a summon, you just don't have that anymore with Toad. So being able to go Barrier Statue first turn and then going through that and kind of ending on a board that can actually win is really important if you don't go turn 2. So I think turn 2 might be the meta moving forward, but not to throw in like a little flex here, but I did go undefeated yesterday at the Stampede event. So I took home the mat and took home the event, and Barrier Statue was a big reason why that happened. Just being able to set up 1 spell and trap negate with Dragite, a Barrier Statue, and then 1 pop with infantry is enough in this metagame. So it's unfortunate, but I think that's just how the Mermail's got to be played now. Unless you just go into the turn 2, what Caleb was saying, and just kind of just go full break everything. And breaking everything, hey, that works with me too.
And you know what? There might be some cooking behind the scenes with people in this podcast. We might be cooking up a Crystron kind of Mermail hybrid kind of deal.
Oh yeah.
And then we can get
Deep Sea Minstrel generic. Woo!
That's true. That's true. A little too broken.
Deep Stream Minstrel should have got banned. No cap.
So I do want to pivot real quick because I think we're going to overlook a deck that I think is really interesting, especially with the lack of Fiendsmith hits, and that is Snake Eye. Because I think it's really understated how Poplar and Ash going back to 2 does a lot for the deck. Bonfire hit, of course. I imagine maybe there might be some sort of world where, well, maybe not. But, I do think like that is really interesting. Just a small tidbit I just wanted to put in there. I'm really interested to see where that deck goes in the future. And I know it already kind of had a recent top, I believe, during this weekend of regionals. So just keep your eye out on that. I think it could be fun.
Yeah. We'll circle back to the cards that were coming off of the list or coming back from the list a little bit later. But I do want to focus primarily right now on the decks that were the tier 1, tier 2, tier 1.5, whatever, last format. And I think that, Austin, since you spoke up and you're the one that's been on Malice since its inception in the TCG, how do you feel about these hits? For the audience at home that may not know, it was Dormouse and White Rabbit and Underground to 2.
Correct.
And then Decoder and Griffin, Nightmare Griffin banned.
Yeah.
Were the most notable hits to... Oh, and Shifter Limited.
Yeah, so I do really appreciate the Shifter limit. I do think I would have more or less liked to see a ban on that. Now, what I'll say is, in this small interim between ALIN and the ban list, it feels horrible. So what I will say is I think for the most part, those consistency hits, the Dormouse, the White Rabbit, and the Malice and Underground to 2 are in prep for what Alliance Insight is going to do for the deck. But in this small chunk of time between hand, it feels terrible because you will go through your first turn, and now Link Decoder was kind of like a nice soft nib check at some point, but now you kind of have a weird area where if they can nib you for house and home if you're not careful. And I think that that's really difficult to cope with. And I think the lines now post Decoder being uncoded is really tough. And I think that the deck kind of has to find its identity. And I know a lot of people are kind of splashing in the Fiendsmith stuff because the Fiendsmith stuff went in touch. And I understand it does offer a lot of recursion and a lot of longevity in the game, but I just it ultimately just feels like not the best way to play the deck even after those hits. So as of right now, terrible. Feels terrible. Even with the Jerusalem hit, even if Jerusalem had stayed at 3, I just think this would feel really bad right now.
Mhm.
So it's just a shell of what it was until Alliance Insight. And I mean Griffin's a great ban. I will say it's not super necessary for the deck. It was a great end board piece, but really that Abal Griffin lock that you could do was really not healthy for the game in any kind of way. So I'm glad to see it go.
Yeah, fair enough. Alan, as somebody that's just kind of picked up Malice and been playing it for the last couple weeks, how do you feel? And as I understand, you've also moved over to playing the Fiendsmith version yourself.
Yeah, I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of test Fiendsmith Malice. One, because I thought it would offer a little bit more lines, and also two, it does play better under Lancia. You don't get a hard stop, and you can still end up with some type of board if you draw the Fiendsmith cards, right? But it does have its weaknesses in the sense that like your Malice combos are a lot more prone to like just the hit, like the consistency, sometimes not ending with the Malice pieces. It sucks. It really does suck. But it's still post ALIN. This deck will be the best. So we take this hit now, like Austin said, knowing that I'm pretty sure going into Nats, Malice will be the most represented deck, and I will be very surprised if Malice doesn't like end up doing really well, like having a lot of representation in the top cut of Nats. So I think the deck is weak-ish right now, but not completely dead. But once ALIN comes in, it will be up there again.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common sentiment. I recently, I think I was listening to Heart of the Cast, Farfa and Joshua Schmidt's podcast, and they had Pack on, and Pack said that Malice is legitimately tier 0 after ALIN, so which is scary, but I don't see how they beat King of the Skull Servants just yet. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Sarkis, do you have anything you want to add about Malice? If, you played against it probably a little bit yesterday, and kind of seeing what the deck looks like post ban list.
Yeah, I mean, Shifter, like coming again from a Mermel POV, Shifter being at 1 is probably the biggest hit that Malice took in my eyes. They did lose a lot of consistency pieces, just things at 2, which sucks. Griffin not being there is kind of annoying because I feel like that's like an odd hit as well. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worst, but I think Link Decoder is probably the most like frustrating inconvenience that they had getting banned, because it just seems like a nice little addition of value. It wasn't too broken. It wasn't so overwhelming. It was like, oh man, they have an extra Link 1 on the board now. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, such a broken deck. It didn't really feel like that. But I'm really happy with the Shifter. I feel like Shifter is just one of those cards. We talked about this in the last podcast. One of those floating floodgates that should have never been made, but unfortunately is because of power creep. So I had to like match it. But with that being said, it's at 1, so it's kind of like Maxi at 1. If you draw it, I guess you win the game, but do you even play it then? Well, Maxi, yes, but Shifter, debatable.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point that you brought up. Is I think a lot of people would have loved to see a Shifter ban, but I think limiting it is kind of the same thing, because like as somebody that used to play Vanquish Soul all the time and relied on Shifter to kind of make ends meet. I won't be playing it because like why am I going to rely on a random one of. I think that limiting it does sort of the same thing. I think decks like Ritual Beast are still probably going to play it, but decks that kind of relied on it to be a game ender or a turn skip or something like that aren't going to be playing it very much anymore. I just don't think it's worth the slot.
I agree.
But finally, I guess there's two other decks that largely went untouched on this ban list. One of which is Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes did not get any notable hits whatsoever, and in fact, their biggest counter, which was Dimension Shifter, was limited. And I've seen a lot of sentiment online that Blue Eyes is now the deck to beat of this short little interim format before Alliance Insight. But what do you guys think? How do you guys think of Blue Eyes going forward?
It would be nice to have our resident Blue Eyes expert Nico Baca here. As he did state, so these are his words, but even in the previous format, playing Blue Eyes, he went undefeated at the Vegas YCS while we were still in the event. He didn't enjoy it. He just thought it was a really boring deck. He got tons of compliments on his ability to play the deck and how he performed with it, but he just is not a fan of it. So I think that although the deck is great for like the nostalgia players and it brought a lot of players back to the game, I don't think going forward it's the powerhouse that people make it out to be.
Fair. I also want to give the caveat of Nico finds anything that isn't the best deck in the room boring.
Fair enough.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
if there are drawbacks to playing the deck and it's not the best deck in the room, he gets really bored with it. For example, he literally dropped Blue Eyes at the event and picked up a full Ryzeo core. So, what Sarkis or Alan, what do you guys think of Blue Eyes going forward?
Yeah, I feel like Blue Eyes kind of suffers just doing things. Like the first turn board is great. It's phenomenal actually, but I don't think it's enough. Like I feel like there could be more. Like it's lacking something of that something. It just doesn't have enough substance. It can pop some stuff. It can negate some stuff. It can tag out and go into bigger things that also negate things as well. But the fact that it sucks really hard going second, its first turn board for me doesn't make up for its going second board. And I feel like there's just ways that you can't stop it. Like it kind of card loses to droll +1 hand trap. And I feel that really makes the deck a little worse than it should be, especially if you're talking about tier 1 competitive. So I think it's definitely a deck that can win any event. I just don't think it's a deck that can win every event.
Yeah, that's fair. Alan, what do you think?
I think it's like I think it's fine. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna like. It's not gonna be like like last format, one of the big giants of like Malice or Ryzeo as like one of the pillars in the meta. But I think it will still have representation, and I think it's still like decently strong. Goes uninterrupted, right? There's just a lot better options out there, but I don't think it will completely leave the meta.
Fair enough. I think we might be underselling it a little bit. I actually think that Blue Eyes is pretty well positioned. I just think it's a little too mid-rangey, and mid-range decks aren't nearly as flashy, and they don't feel as suffocating to lose against. But I think that Blue Eyes is definitely a good contender going forward, and I think that it has some really unique tools. I think Drill Beam is a really crazy card that with Detonator going to 1 can just end a Ryzeo matchup right on the spot, and things like that. So, and the last deck I really wanted to touch on, and none of us really have that much experience with it. I've been building it low key for the last couple weeks, but that's Odeon or Anubis, man with the boyfriend mark, stuff like that. And like I said, we don't have the most amount of experience playing it. None of us have played it personally, and I doubt many people have been playing it at your guys' locals.
No, a ton actually.
Oh, a ton.
Yeah,
okay.
we actually have a ton of Odeon and a bunch of different variants. Odeon Blue Eyes, Odeon Fiendsmith, Odeon, yeah, Odeon Ryzeo was there. We've seen a good amount.
Yeah. That deck is annoying.
That's all I had to
That
say
deck is
about
annoying.
that.
Yeah, going into that deck, especially when you're going second, man, that thing is frustrating.
Yeah,
Dealing with like
seriously.
8 face-up negates. They have kind of like a drill beam. They just have a pop that can just pop a Neptibus, which is all I care about. And it's just frustrating.
Pops
Especially
Neptibus,
with their...
If it
No,
pops
for real,
Neptibus,
ban every card that pops anything.
Yep, ban it.
Yeah.
No,
it's just one of those
specifically
decks that,
Neptibus,
like,
though.
if they go first, I think it's just almost unplayable unless you just have enough gas. Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they have 3 different ways of negating stuff face up, right? And then they have a lot of recursion, and that is like guaranteed as part of their initial combo. If they have extenders, they just have more. and then the fusion gets to pop a card. It's annoying. It's just super annoying.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
only
it's
played against the. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I said I've only played against it like a couple times, but yeah, like it going uninterrupted. It has a lot of interesting interactions by bringing out like extra bodies and stuff, and then the bodies kind of do stuff. It's yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. But I wonder how prevalent it will be moving forward.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think with it didn't get necessarily any buffs or any hits or anything like that, but much like Blue Eyes, just by everything else, going down a power level, kind of gives them room to creep up and become a little bit stronger. But yeah, that's kind of the meta decks and how they fared after the ban list. It sounds like things are largely unchanged. Maybe things are a little less consistent, or if you reside on the ocean, you're in shambles. But what do you guys think about the cards that were maybe coming off the list? Either coming off the list completely or unbanned finally after many years. There were a lot of big changes for that. Or I guess before we go into that, I forgot a very large part of this is um, the three staples. The three staples that were hit. Cross
Yeah,
out,
talents.
talents. What was the other one? There was another one, right?
I mean, I guess like Bisiol, like Drew Swarm, kind of shifter.
Oh, maybe I was thinking of Shifter. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. So cross out and talents are the two big ones I'm thinking of. What do you guys think of those hits? Because those don't really fit into either any of the meta decks per se, but they were just played literally everywhere.
I mean, I think you're playing it, right? You're playing the one time. A lot of decks opted not to play the crossouts, opted maybe to play the talents at 2 or 3. Now I think it's just, man, if you have the space, I mean, honestly, if you're even pushing 41, 42 cards, you're playing called by, you're playing a crossout, you're playing a talents. I think with the prevalence of certain hand traps in the meta currently and how much more powerful certain hand traps have gotten due to the ban list, like Nib against both the Rizal and the Mouse matchup, against the Mermail matchup, like Nib is the golden child of hand traps right now. A lot of the stuff that prevented Nib from being played across the board is gone, right? With the prevalence of Fiendsmith Malice, that means you're probably less likely to see an impulse in every opening hand. So I think you're playing the cross out, you're playing Nib, you're playing talents. You might even be playing thrust now to offset the limiting of talents, but I think you're just playing the 3.
Sure. I kind of disagree with crossout. I think crossout at 1 is kind of a huge hit. I think a lot of the strength of that card was hitting random side deck cards. Things like Dimensional Barrier or even other engines and stuff like that. Or, I mean, like Malice or Crystron would play it to stop Lancias and stuff like that. And I think that is over. I think it just becomes another Called by the Grave where in most cases it's actually worse because if you don't play the hand trap that you're trying to stop, like if you don't main deck Droll and your opponent drolls you and you're looking at a cross out in your hand, you're like, well, if this was a called by, this would have been better. But I agree on the point with tactics. I think that card is still nuts. I think hitting it to 1 is actually the best thing because its board breaking capabilities are really interesting, but it being able to forceful sentry a card out of your opponent's hand is absolutely insane. And in a game where one hand trap doesn't end the turn like it could have, you're not talents has just become super strong, and now it becomes like this go second board breaker kind of card with thrust and things like that. And I think that's way more healthy for the game.
I agree. I will say I've been wanting to put talents into Mermails for a while, and I just never got around to it. So now that it's at 1, perfect way to slot it in. I do need to pick one up though, so I do need to find one. But yeah, I like it, that one.
Do you have anything to add to that, Alan?
I
Are you
think it was
now
a long
just like
time
a
coming.
talents like worshiper?
I do tend to even today in both my matches I drew talents when sliding it in, which in my opening hand. So I do love the card. Nico Baca says I'm a sack with it, because I always shit on him with it. Just sounds like a skill issue to me, to be honest.
Not for real.
But those cards are really good, and I think they were a little too good, honestly. Like talents is insane. It's just the Oh,
Yeah, he'll be back.
oh, okay. Just the idea of like talents. You're like talents. If you
Hold on,
open talents
hold on,
or
hold on.
cross out. Oh, sorry.
Can we not gloss over the fact that we saw that Emma Frost Discord border?
I did see
All right,
that. That was kind of
continue.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah. So basically, I'm just saying that yeah, those cards were insane going first, and you having them was a really big advantage. So now it gives like it was already really hard to go second in Yu-Gi-Oh. So kind of limiting that turn one oppressiveness, I think, is really healthy for the game as well. That's what I think. So I think both of them going to one is pretty good for the game. I will miss seeing them more often, but it was necessary, I think.
Yeah, and kind of wrapping up on this point. I know this is going to be kind of controversial in the group, but I think hand traps need to be able to resolve. I think if we can make it so hand traps resolving is a normal part of the game instead of like having to play around like, oh, does my opponent have called by or cross out or talents? It leaves room for maybe some of the most egregious hand traps getting hit at some point, or something like that. You know, if it becomes a thing where Droll is really overpowered because it's resolving all the time now, then maybe we see a ban on it in the future or something like that.
No. I just picked up Altis. No. I'm okay.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Wait. I also just picked up German QCRs. Let's chill.
Yeah, I picked up QCR shifters, and you don't see me crying, bro.
Yeah, well, that's a totally different card.
Oh yeah.
That's a totally different card. One of those is called Droll and Lockbird. The other one's called Fuck You, Fuck Your Grave, Fuck What Your Deck Does.
Okay, fair enough. So
now, I do agree. I do think leveling the playing field by allowing hand traps to resolve is healthy for the overall game. And it always was a coin flip in terms of fear, whether you were going to get punished for simply trying to keep your opponent from building the god board, right?
Yeah.
And I think any way we go where we're not putting the fear of God into you, or the fear of God is not being put into you for simply trying to ash something, I think that's good.
Exactly. So, all right. So moving forward to what I was talking about before, there's a few cards that came off the list. Things like Cyberjar, some of the dangers. Austin mentioned earlier some of the Snake Eyes cards. Masterpiece is finally back. Brilliant Fusion is back. Things like that. Do you guys think that any of these cards could see any kind of meta contention, or even just like make a deck a little bit more rogue?
Oh, I will say, just real quick, one thing you didn't mention that I think actually has the biggest impact for people in this call: Black and White Dragon, Collab Serpent, and Wyvern Buster. I saw played in Malice yesterday at the Stampede event at the time of this recording. Low-key kind of fire. I ain't gonna lie, low-key kind of cool. You got a little engine going, future link materials that can also climb as well. And we are still in a light and dark format, right? So I think those two cards with Chaos Space as well, being able to get an extra draw and just shuffle things back, it's a cool little engine that I think should be explored a little more. And out of everything you mentioned so far, I think everything so far, I think that's probably the biggest thing that could have like a meta impact. And I like it.
Now, remind me, is Chaos Space a hit at all?
It's at 1.
It's at 1. Okay. Yeah, because I think when I initially saw that Black and White were off the list a bit, my mind immediately jumped to that. And also the reintroduction of Lubellion, just back into the deck. With
Bestials being cut, because Jerusalem's not at 1, so you don't have that extender.
Exactly.
It's just kind of like a Bestial extender. Kind of.
Yep. And you can grab either of them for follow up off of Magnamut. So
yeah, that's interesting. That's not a card. Those aren't cards I really consider to be like meta contenders. I think they're good cards, but I think they're kind of eclipsed now because they're not I mean, Dragon Link isn't as popular. And in my eyes, I saw like, okay, Wiverbuster is the only one that you want to really see in Malice because Collapse Serpent is kind of dead because you're not playing as many light monsters.
Mm-hmm.
But with Chaos Space and, I could definitely see it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my follow-up question is, do Mouse players start playing Saryuja?
You trying to break another table?
Don't remind him, bro. Don't remind him.
No. That's a fond
answer is
memory
no.
for me.
So that's a fond memory for me.
The answer is no. Like, what is Saryuja doing? Like,
I mean, fixing a normal summon. I mean, I don't know. I'm spitballing here. I'm spitballing.
I was
man.
gonna say, like, by the time you get to Saryuja, your hand is either good or not, and if you're getting Saryuja, it's probably okay. Going back to what Austin was talking about earlier with the Snake Eyes cards, you said that you saw that one had topped recently. I think that deck is hot garbage. I don't think even if Ash, I think you could take the entire Snake Eyes core or Snake Eyes deck that was popular, put every single card in that deck to 3 and leave OSS banned, and that deck still does nothing.
Yeah, I mean, with
Because-
Apo gone, I see what you're saying. I haven't had the chance to go through what the deck list looked like for the gentleman who topped. And again, this is to preface this too. This is all only possible because Fiendsmith went absolutely untouched on this list. So I think that that's really the biggest facilitator of it all. But I'm not 100% against what you're saying. I'm not 100% for what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, I did notice it. I think that there is a lot that deck can do even with OSS banned, and I think it really takes just the right architect for the deck to bring it into the light, not make it a meta definer, but to bring it into the light.
Yeah, I still think that Snake Eyes Ash is like the best normal summon in the game by far. But the strength of that deck was the fact that you had so many random extenders. Your wanteds were extended. Like normal summon Ash, you get hand trap. You have wanteds. You had bonfires. You had divine temples. You had all these cards that could extend you through whatever your opponent threw at you. Those are all killed by OSS being banned. Because most of the time your extender was getting you to a bonfire or getting you to a poplar that got you to OSS, that got you to full combo. Yes, you can still make half boards and you can probably still do IP Masquerena shenanigans and stuff like that, but with all the generic end board pieces taken out back and OSS being banned, you're just playing boneless Fiendsmith.
Shavar's at 2 though. Shavar's at 2 though.
What does Shavara do?
They're all fiends, aren't they?
Maybe
no, they're pyros.
No, they're all pyros.
That deck sucks.
Search for
That
them
deck
with
sucks,
bonfire.
man.
So, yeah, I think I think people are kind of sleeping on the dangers. Actually, I think having Nessie, Tsuchinoko, and Jackalope all at 3 is actually kind of scary. And I think it just takes like when Orchest comes out, people are probably going to be playing them. I think the second there's just a random slop of combo that comes back into the meta. I mean, like, I know for a phase there, you were, Austin, you were testing them in Malice.
Actively testing them now. Actively testing them now. I think one of the big issues for Malice, as opposed to maybe something akin to Orcus, is the monster to spell trap ratio is a little more intense in Malice currently than it is in something like Orcus. So finding like the bare bones spell trap structure for the deck is integral for it maybe to work in Malice. In terms of Orcus, I agree. I think there's a realm where we see it a little more prevalent in Orcus because the big difference between the two is Orcus ignition effects in the grave are really important as opposed to Malice, where you're just trying to get the Malice anywhere other than your hand.
Right. Yeah, and I think that there's a lot there's just a lot of potential when it comes to dangers, and
Mhm.
I don't think that they're overpowered by any stretch of the imagination. I really think they're really cool cards, honestly. But I think those are the cards I could see long term having the most impact. There's going to be some slop deck that comes out that they have to get hit again or something like that.
Mhm.
Um,
Remind me, what was the format that they got hit originally in? Was that toss format
uh,
or post toss?
no, I think Tsuchinoko and Jackalope. Maybe it was after toss. I know. I think Nessie was at 3 during Tier 0 format. No. It was before Tier 0. It was when it was Danger. It was Roulette tier. Um, I'm not sure. I can't remember if they had all the dangers at the time, or if Jackalope and Tsuchinoko were still at 1 each. But it's been a while that they've been on the list,
Okay.
and I think that they could still rear their ugly head every once in a while.
I
I
agree.
think the danger cards are really cool. And like hopefully they don't like aren't in a spot to get like giga abused again, but I like the mechanic of them. And I think it'd
Mhm.
be cool to like have them be like meta again. Because I think it's really unique how they work. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you guys think of other cards that came off the list? Any thoughts and prayers for Masterpiece, Brilliant Fusion, Mathmech Circular? Anybody
Copium.
trying to play Empty Jar with 2 Morphing Jar and 3 Cyber Jars?
Oh hell yeah! I will say, I will say, Brilliant Fusion is a little scary because the Gem Knight support coming out eventually
Yeah.
is a little crazy, just a little crazy. So we'll see if that actually makes an impact. I don't think we're going back to the formats where Brilliant was in every single deck and you had to play your Garnet and you just get 2 normal summons. I think we're long past that, but who knows? I think that support's going to be very impactful.
Yeah. And as our with our 2 Resident Mouse players, have you guys tested Mathmech Circular at all, or kind of? I actually I've seen more people are latching on to Circular in Ryziel than they are in Malice right now.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that's true as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think just having the extra body post alumbration just does more for the Ryziel deck, and I don't know that they're playing Super Factorial. I did notice that Super Factorial prices have jumped recently. I don't know that anything Ryziel Mathmech has actually done well at the regional this weekend, but in terms of playtesting, I have been messing around with it a little bit on Omega. I think it's really cool. I think that because of the Griffin and the Link Decoder ban, you are seeing a much more Cybers forward Malice deck. So I think that there is a world where Circular works out, especially because how it'll work now is if you open no Malice cards post Alliance Insight, Mathmech Circular is full combo. Or any Mathmech, actually, even if you open Sigma, because of how Cyber's Wicked will work with the new backup ad Ignister. Or, is it backup Secretary ad Ignister or whatever the new one's called? So I think because of that, that's really, I think maybe they wanted it off the list to kind of see what it will look like. But, I mean, it's at 3
Interesting.
in OCG land, right?
I have no idea. I know it's at 1 in Master Duel. I know it was banned, and now it's at 1. I think that card's insane. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the Ryziel decks are playing the Super Factorial.
Okay.
Because they can search it with 7th Tachyon if they have like their Ryziel name. And then it's just like more interruption.
Yeah.
Or you can just make the Alumbration with 2 Ryziels.
Yeah,
Because it's a
right.
generic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's cool. I think that deck's interesting. I think that Mathmech as a deck is not going to do very much because, like, if you're going to play Cyber Slop, you're just going to play the little girls.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of fun.
Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Okay.
So, anything else you guys can see, like maybe cards that came off the list or Anything like that that you think might affect something?
I think that's everything for me on my end.
I
Yeah, I'm
can't
kind of.
think of anything. Kind of drawing blanks.
Yeah,
Really thinking.
I'm looking at right now. I mean, like Austin said, Shavara coming off the list, but I think that Unchained has had its time in the sun. I
Well, I
don't
mean,
think
in what
Eva or
world
Monkey
does
Board.
the Shavara to 2 impact Ubel? Right?
It doesn't, because you were only ever going to play one, even if it was at 3,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
you searched it as part of a combo piece.
Yeah. There you go.
So I don't know. It's I think that a lot of people have said that Konami likes to bring cards off the list after they've kind of not been relevant anymore. I think Shavara is the same way. It's just like unfortunate. Unchained was a really cool deck, and we'll just never get that kind of power back, because if you're gonna play Unchained, you might as well just play Ubel and have Phantom of Ubel, So, all right. Well, moving forward, and like kind of wrapping up the last of the ban list discussion, there's a big twink looking hole in the ban list. We should probably talk about Fiendsmith and anything else that we think is missing off the ban list. So, obviously, at the time of recording, Fiendsmiths are everywhere. Tracks are $180 a piece. Requiems are $180 a piece. Lacrimas are $180 a piece.
Fabled Lurries are $180 a piece.
Fiendsmith and Paradise are $110 a piece, and Engravers are $5. So I do think it's interesting. Tracked and Engraver have kind of swapped places price wise. Where Tracked is now like this $90 card, and then Engraver's like the $12 card. But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on Fiendsmith and it dodging the ban list?
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Deck is just annoying, man. It's been around for a long time. It's a splashable core in a game full of non-archetypes. It just seems like it just does a little too much too freely. It's not broken by any means, but it's like I feel like it's had its course in the game, and it just adds a little too much to decks that should suffer by playing their own cards.
I mean, legitimately, like Sarkos was saying, how we're past the point of Brilliant Fusion being played in just about every deck to give you the extra normal summon. You are now seeing a Brilliant Fusion on legs with actual potency in the Fiendsmith engine now in Duke of Demise.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think that what that's able to do, that entire combo line is ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
But man, is it so fun
It's
to play,
so
man.
fun. It is so fun. Just watching the combo happen in front of me and my jaw dropped. I can't. And Duke of Demise is such a hilarious looking card.
I mean, fuck, dude. Like ban the Fiendsmith stuff for combo players, but let me play a grind game with Fiendsmith, man. There is no better drug out there.
To this day, has anyone
turn 8 with Fiendsmith?
Has anyone actually ever seen a pure Fiendsmith deck?
Yeah, it won a YCS.
Pure Fiendsmith.
Yeah. I think it might have been Cash Fiendsmith, but it was like
Fiendsmith, yeah.
It was like 25 cards that were Fiendsmith. It was I mean Fiendsmith, where it was they played the Magical Musketeers for a 1-card Requiem.
Yeah, see, no, that doesn't count. I'm talking like straight Fiendsmith.
Yeah, like hand trap Fiendsmith has been a thing,
No, okay, but that's like they're still. I'm talking like they're playing the other trap.
Right. There are not enough cards in the Fiendsmith archetype to fill up 40 cards.
What are you talking about? You could play 3 Sanks.
True. 3 tracks.
That's all I had.
3 Fiendsmith Kyrie. Like,
yeah. Rex Tremade. Oh, that's the extra.
And you know what? You might be able to do it if you like put some of the extra deck cards in your main deck.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But
ban that thing. Just like the cash cards, man. They've existed. They may be not broken, but like fuck out of here, bro. You're expired.
You've outlived your welcome.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is the Andy scene from Toy Story? I don't want to play with you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I don't know,
deadass.
man. Maybe I'm just like I love them, and they're a little bit, they cater more towards a mid-rangey playstyle. I think it's degenerate when like Memento is making like a Caesar to like insulate their board, or Fiendsmith is doing stuff to like insulate combo decks. But like even though I hated playing Raziel Fiendsmith, the highlight of that was just like going to turn 6 with Fiendsmith and just like constantly having stuff to do and having interaction with the opponent. And that's the thing I love about it, is just like it's not suffocating. It's annoying, but like the only thing that's really suffocating about it is your opponent if you don't have an out to Chaos Angel.
Yeah, it's High Wave King Caesar. You just should not be able to make that card for as free as you can. That's legitimate.
agree.
100%.
Imagine if that was hit on the ban list. If
Yeah,
that was banned,
then I'd be
could
fine.
viable. Yeah.
Fiendsmith would
Just
be
a cool
great.
little
You know,
link
I-
engine, yeah.
And I do think that like I think this list would have been perfect if there was a moon hit too. You know, like I think if they hit the splashability of that deck and made it where you had to draw the engraver, or you had to play an in-engine way to get to Requiem, like it would have been different. But as it is right now, I don't think that it's. I think people are playing it right now because they're relying on comfort. I think once the meta becomes a lot more established, I think Fiendsmith fades out of relevance again.
Mm-hmm.
It was really only in relevance because of Raziel anyway, and the Odeon stuff.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I don't know. It's just too good, man. It's just too good. I
Yeah.
like even playing it, even though I suck dick with it. It's still so good. Like it's just you get so much shit, but like you're so behind if you don't play it. Honestly, unless your deck is like the goat. Like if your deck can play it, you should play it. Honestly, it's just like you can buy so much interaction. You just have so much like presence early. Like yeah, let me just set up a Caesar, bro. I can't be nibbed. You have to nib me here. I didn't even normal summon yet. Suck my dick. Like bro, like come on, like this shit, like come on, like this stuff is
Really?
not like like, or I just set up a Desiree and I have my Lacrima set up so I can go on your turn. Lacrima, summon a shovel back, summon Requiem effect, summon Lacrima effect, fucking dump the paradise, fucking yeah, let me just stop your last summon. And
That's
then
true.
you just forget about it. They're like, oh, okay. And like that's not even on top of what else you're playing. You know, like your Malice, your Ryziel, your
That's
Mitsurugi, your
word
your
for
mom,
word
like-
how he does the Fiendsmith play too. By the way,
Mhm.
Fiendsmith says, "Suck
If you
my
wanna
dick."
like geez, like I don't know, man. It's just so good. It's so good.
Every time he summons
But man,
Caesar,
is it so fun?
big dick Caesar on the board.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of a good kind of wrap up of everything. Is there anything else that you guys really wish that was maybe on the list? I know that we can talk all day about stuff that we wish would come off, but like, is there anything that you think they blatantly missed?
I mean, like Sarkis said, the Kashtira's. Kashtira just needed to see some sort of hit. I think the way it is now, it's always going to have a place in some deck that kind of might elevate the ceiling of the deck a bit too much. So
Heaven forbid men do anything.
True.
I love the Fiendsmith. I love the cached cards. Like, heaven forbid a mid range player want to play the game. Nah, because Malice gets off with a slap on the wrist. Ryziel, oh no, they only have one detonator. But the second I want to play Fenrir and Vanquish Soul, nah, I'm committing war crimes.
We've called the UN.
Yeah.
I will say the only card I want off the list at the moment is Ronin Toden. That's it. Just give me that boy back. Let me make my Toden piece. Took everything else away from me.
Would you trade Neptibus for it?
Ooh. Would you trade 2 Dragoons for it?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. That can survive off 1 Dragoons.
This man bat down diabolical.
He said, "I'll make a deal with the devil."
If
My
they start hitting
soul.
Neptibus though, I'm a fully swap to One Piece. It's the best game.
Have you thought about you're worried about being able to trigger Dragoons more times? You could trigger it off Substitute.
That is a true statement. Yeah, that is. I could just play Edison. A lot of things that could happen.
with Dragoon's tech in.
Yeah. Normal summon Neptibus.
Wait, you know
28.
Substitute's off the list, right?
That is true. That is true. But also, no.
All right. Well, that's the ban list. We do want to quickly touch on a few things. Quarter Century Stampede just came out, and a lot of really fun reprints in there. What are your guys' overall thoughts? So just kind of real quickly about Stampede.
Great set.
Yeah,
Awesome
fun set to open.
Got a lot of stuff. Got a play set of Veilers.
Yep.
Wait, you got a playset of the QC, the new
Yeah, I'll
QCR?
show it on camera. I know.
Oh, it's nice. It's
I can
nice.
do something with my
Those are
deck.
butt.
At least I can flex it.
I was a little skeptic about the art when I first saw it leaked, but it's really nice.
Yeah, you see it in person, you're like, God damn. I pulled.
Do
I
we
said
wanna-
if I pulled one of them, either the nib or the Veiler, I'd get a set of which one I pulled.
Do we
And I
want to
pulled
have
the
the nib debate here on?
It's hideous
on stream?
Yeah, that's nice. That's clean.
Ooh, those are nice.
It's like a warm, embracing hug just waiting for you.
Yeah, it's like, don't worry, your effect got negated, but at least like I can riz you up.
I
But at least
lift
you have a cat
you
girl.
up.
Yeah, the nib bar is cool. It doesn't remind me
Hideous.
of nib at all because
Exactly.
what the fuck is that thing? You know.
Yeah.
But you know,
Bro, it looks like
No more big rock.
Swampert abandoned the water typing and just became like a rock. He's just
Yeah.
all ground and rock. It's same.
Swampert
He's
became some bullshit. Yep.
when you try to hit on like a football player's girl.
Yeah, no, bro. The little
Dominant.
Jirac baby dinosaur is you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about.
Yep, literally. Man, I think
That's good. That's good. That's good. A
Yeah.
lot of other fun alt arts. You know, there's the new Called by the Grave. There's new
is.
Extravagance. My personal favorite is the Diabell Star one.
That one's
Superb.
Dude,
Superb.
it's so clean. It's so
Yeah. I want me some
Yeah.
of those.
El Shaddai Construct QCR alt art now too. That one
Gorgeous.
looks nice in QCR.
Take me
Yeah.
back to Shadal Infernoid lore. That's my favorite
Yeah.
lore.
That's true. Take us back to that format. Those are good times.
But give us Mimighoul Fork, because that's still a great card for Shadal.
Cool 4.
All right. Well, before we start getting True King Sylvans back on the menu, kind of leaving off. Where do you guys feel the meta is at right now? Like,
It's a cesspool.
not with Alliance Insight. We're gonna do a podcast episode before Alliance Insight, but how do we feel about the post ban list pre Alliance Insight format?
We're in limbo.
Yeah, I think any deck right now could take it.
Awkward, weird thing where anything goes. Fiendsmith is still crazy, and your favorite deck can be a contender for this 1 month only.
I mean,
It's like limited special.
it's Fiendsmith the meta, honestly. Everything can play any deck can play Fiendsmith, right? Just about any deck can play Fiendsmith. And because the meta is not defined, because people are waiting, it's just a Fiendsmith free for all. It's engravers fucking everywhere, okay?
That and Memento best sec.
Memento best deck.
Memento,
But
best
you know the
deck,
issue?
dude.
Memento plays Fiendsmith.
True.
Exactly. That's why it's good because Memento cards suck ass. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I'm gonna get beat up later. All right. Thanks for watching this episode.
If you guys didn't know, before Austin was our resident Malice player, he was the resident Memento player, everyone.
And he gave up on it for the little girls.
Oh,
Caught.
Yeah.
cut.
Just
God.
like Drake.
Whoa.
I need a one dance.
All right. That's the episode. That's the episode, guys. That's the episode.
And until next time, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, anything in standby.
Bro, we gotta do shoutouts. No, don't cut us off.
Shoutouts. We're not closing it yet. Shout out to Caleb. Take it away.
Okay. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. If you
Austin
like what
hasn't
we do
moved.
here, yeah. If you like what we do here, we all do our own separate things as well. and I guarantee you we're only this funny when we're all together. So,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
you can find me on my other podcast talking about SCPs and other random internet horror things. That is going to be SCPod, SCPOD, on Spotify and YouTube, and sometimes in the comment sections of these videos as well. So, yeah, I run that, and yeah, Austin, shout yourself out.
Yeah. Assassin by Day on Twitch. You can also find me in your local graveyard, grave robbing. You
Right.
might also find me constantly lurking outside of your favorite supermarket.
Hmm.
Sometimes I sling
Hanging out with Party
oranges,
Next Door.
and occasionally you might find me selling my body on the streets. But you know,
Sarkis.
You can find me here on this YouTube channel in our first deck profile ever posted, and then maybe a future Mermail first place deck profile coming up. But we'll see.
also
Bet,
you
bet.
could literally find him in the ocean, in his
Mm-hmm.
natural form, a squid.
If you see water, you see me.
You
Actually,
see me.
I pulled every rarity of Abyss Gaios out of Stampede, and Sarkis just showed up.
Yeah,
Out of
he
the
just
ground.
was summoned.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm
He
saying.
completed the ritual, you know.
That's all
I
I'm
was,
saying.
I was taking a drink of water and he showed up in my kitchen.
That's all I'm saying.
I was in the cup actually. It's insane.
Oh shit!
The tall glass of Sarkis.
Hell yeah.
Fire, fire.
All right, and last but not least, our glorious leader himself, Mr. Donald J. Allen. Where can they find you?
Yo, don't put my name in that gross. Yeah. I stream sometimes on Twitch. Last time I streamed Val, but it's just Yawn. TFT. I'm playing the new TFT set, and it's really fun. I'm not that high rank right now in TFT. I'm only like Emerald, which is kind of shit comparatively to me. Yeah, if I get high rank, I'll stream that. But yeah, I stream there sometimes, and then yeah, I'll be here.
Bet. This has
Hell yeah.
been Anything in Standby, and we will be back in roughly 2 weeks or so when we start talking about Alliance Insight, and I get to pill everybody on Skull Servants. So,
Get me out of here.
um,
To be